Good morning/afternoon everyone. We live in a world that tells us to seek comfort, avoid pain, and protect our feelings at all costs. But I'm here to tell you something different: stop being soft. Not in the way that says, be tough, never feel, but in the way that says, step up. Do the hard things. Face the truth. Because here's the reality: being soft isn't about kindness or empathy, it's about avoidance. And avoidance is the enemy of growth. There's a difference between being kind and being afraid of conflict. Too often, we hold back our thoughts, avoid difficult conversations, and stay silent when we should speak up, all because we don't want to feel uncomfortable. But discomfort is the price of growth. Avoiding hard things doesn't protect us, it weakens us. So, when I say stop being soft, I'm not saying stop being kind. I'm saying stop running from the hard things. Stop avoiding discomfort. Stop fearing failure. Instead, choose courage, choose accountability, and choose resilience. Because the world doesn't need more softness, it needs more people willing to stand up, speak up, and grow up. And that starts with you. Softness is often mistaken for kindness, gentleness, or emotional intelligence. But in reality, there's a kind of softness that doesn't serve us. It's the kind of softness that keeps us from facing hard truths, from stepping into challenges, and from holding ourselves accountable. This isn't about being compassionate or empathetic; those qualities are strengths. What I'm talking about is the kind of softness that leads to avoidance, the kind that makes us shrink back from discomfort, the kind that tells us to take the easy road instead of the right one. Avoidance is a powerful thing. It disguises itself as self-care, as keeping the peace, as being easygoing. But in reality, avoidance robs us of growth. When we avoid tough conversations because they might be uncomfortable, we allow resentment to build, relationships to weaken, and problems to fester. When we avoid pushing ourselves because we fear failure, we settle for less than we're capable of and convince ourselves that it's okay to stay in a place of mediocrity. When we avoid responsibility because it's easier to make excuses, we give up our power to change our lives. Think about the times in your life when you avoided something difficult. Maybe it was a difficult conversation with a friend, a family member, or a coworker. Maybe it was a challenge at work or school that you knew would require extra effort, so you put it off or convinced yourself that it wasn't worth trying. Maybe it was feedback that stung, so instead of listening and learning, you dismissed it or got defensive. Avoidance always feels easier in the moment, but it costs us more in the long run. Every time we choose to sidestep discomfort, we also sidestep an opportunity for growth. There's a cultural narrative that tells us we should always seek comfort, that if something feels too hard, we should step away from it. But strength is built in discomfort, not in ease. If you go to the gym and lift the same light weights every day because the heavier ones are too hard, you'll never get stronger. The same is true for mental and emotional resilience. If we never push ourselves beyond what feels comfortable, we never develop the skills we need to handle real challenges. Avoidance doesn't just impact us individually, it affects our relationships and our communities. Think about what happens when leaders avoid making tough decisions because they don't want to upset anyone. Think about what happens when parents avoid setting boundaries with their children because they don't want to deal with conflict. Think about what happens when people avoid taking responsibility for their mistakes because it's easier to blame others. In all of these situations, softness leads to dysfunction. True strength isn't about never feeling fear, discomfort, or doubt, it's about facing those things head-on. Courage doesn't mean the absence of fear, it means feeling the fear and moving forward anyway. The strongest people are not the ones who avoid failure but the ones who embrace it as a necessary step toward success. They don't shy away from feedback because it stings, they lean into it because they know it will make them better. They don't run from accountability because it's uncomfortable, they take ownership of their actions because that's how they grow. One of the biggest lies we tell ourselves is that if we just avoid something long enough, it will go away. But avoidance doesn't erase problems, it magnifies them. Ignoring a difficult conversation doesn't make it disappear, it makes the tension grow. Putting off a challenge doesn't make it easier, it just makes the fear of it stronger. Refusing to take responsibility doesn't absolve us, it keeps us stuck in the same patterns. So, what does it look like to stop being soft in this way? It means choosing honesty over comfort. It means having the hard conversation instead of sweeping things under the rug. It means pushing yourself when it's easier to quit. It means owning your mistakes instead of making excuses. It means recognizing that growth is uncomfortable, but stagnation is worse. It means refusing to let fear dictate your choices. Strength is not about being harsh, cold, or unfeeling. It's about being brave enough to face what's difficult. It's about recognizing that discomfort is not the enemy, it's the path to resilience. It's about knowing that the most successful, fulfilled people are not the ones who had an easy road but the ones who chose to take on challenges instead of avoiding them. If you want to live a meaningful, fulfilling life, you have to stop being soft in the way that keeps you small. You have to stop letting fear win. You have to stop avoiding things just because they're uncomfortable. Because the truth is, the easy road never leads anywhere worth going. Vulnerability is often misunderstood. Many people see it as weakness, as something to be avoided, as a sign that we are not strong enough, not resilient enough, not tough enough to handle life. But what if I told you that vulnerability is not the opposite of strength but the foundation of it? What if I told you that the ability to be vulnerable is what separates those who truly live, grow, and lead from those who hide behind walls of fear and self-protection? We are conditioned to believe that strength means never showing cracks, never admitting fear, never asking for help. We are taught that the people who never cry, never waver, never show emotion are the ones who have it all together. But this is a false image, a dangerous illusion. True strength isn't about pretending to be invincible. It's about being willing to be seen as you are, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it feels risky. Vulnerability means showing up fully, knowing that there are no guarantees. It means speaking your truth even when your voice shakes. It means admitting that you don't have all the answers, that you need help, that you made a mistake. It means being willing to take risks, even when failure is a possibility. And perhaps most importantly, it means allowing yourself to feel deeply, even when it hurts. Think about the moments in your life when you felt the most connected to someone. Were they moments of perfection, where everything was easy and smooth? Or were they moments when someone was honest with you, when they let their guard down, when they shared something real? Vulnerability is what allows us to truly connect with others. It's what makes relationships strong, friendships deep, and leadership inspiring. When people see you as human, when they see that you are willing to be open, to be honest, to be real, they trust you more. They respect you more. They are drawn to you because they recognize that same humanity in themselves. But vulnerability is not just about connection, it is also about courage. Every time you allow yourself to be vulnerable, you are practicing bravery. You are choosing to step into the unknown rather than hide behind a mask of control. You are choosing growth over comfort. It's easy to stay guarded, to never take risks, to never let anyone see your doubts or fears. But that kind of safety comes at a cost. It keeps you from learning. It keeps you from evolving. It keeps you from truly experiencing life. When we avoid vulnerability, we also avoid opportunities. How many times have you held back from saying something because you were afraid of how it would be received? How many times have you not tried something new because you were afraid of failing? How many times have you pretended to be fine when you weren't, just to keep up appearances? Every one of those moments is a missed chance for growth, for connection, for learning something important about yourself. Vulnerability is the birthplace of creativity, innovation, and leadership. Every great leader, every great artist, every great thinker has had to step into the unknown, risking failure, criticism, and rejection. Without vulnerability, there is no progress. If you never allow yourself to be seen, how can you ever be truly known? If you never take risks, how can you ever achieve anything meaningful? If you never admit what you don't know, how can you ever grow? Strength and vulnerability are not opposites, they are intertwined. The strongest people are not the ones who refuse to show emotion or admit fear, they are the ones who acknowledge their struggles and move forward anyway. They are the ones who say, yes, I am afraid, but I won't let that stop me. They are the ones who say, I don't have all the answers, but I am willing to learn. They are the ones who say, this is hard, but I will keep going. Some of the greatest acts of strength in history have come from moments of profound vulnerability. The leaders who stood up against injustice, knowing they would face resistance. The scientists who presented new ideas, knowing they would be doubted. The artists who shared their work, knowing they might be criticized. The people who spoke their truth, knowing it might make others uncomfortable. None of these acts would have been possible without the courage to be vulnerable. But vulnerability is not just about the big moments, it's also about the small, everyday choices. It's about telling someone how much they mean to you, even if you're afraid they won't say it back. It's about asking for help when you need it, instead of pretending you have it all together. It's about admitting when you've made a mistake, instead of trying to cover it up. It's about showing up as your real self, instead of only presenting the version of you that you think others will approve of. One of the biggest myths about vulnerability is that it makes you weak, that if you let people see the real you, they will use it against you. But the truth is, when you embrace vulnerability, you take back your power. You are no longer controlled by fear, by shame, by the need for constant approval. You become stronger because you are no longer hiding. You are no longer running from yourself. And here's something important to remember: vulnerability is not about oversharing. It's not about exposing every detail of your life to everyone around you. It's about choosing authenticity over perfection, honesty over avoidance, courage over comfort. It's about knowing that you are enough as you are, without needing to prove it. The world does not need more people who hide behind masks of strength. It needs people who are willing to be real, to be brave, to be seen. It needs people who are willing to say, "This is who I am, and I am enough." That is true strength. That is true resilience. That is what it means to live fully, deeply, and meaningfully. So if you want to be strong, start by allowing yourself to be vulnerable. Step into discomfort. Speak your truth. Take the risk. Let yourself be seen. Because in the end, strength is not about never falling, it's about having the courage to stand back up, again and again, no matter how hard it gets. Discomfort is something we are wired to avoid. It signals danger, uncertainty, and struggle. From an early age, we are taught to seek comfort, to find the easiest and safest path, to minimize risk, and to protect ourselves from pain. The problem with this mindset is that it keeps us stuck. Growth, learning, and achievement all require discomfort. If we are unwilling to step into discomfort, we are unwilling to step into the life we are truly capable of living. Think about the moments in your life that shaped you the most. Were they the easy moments, when everything was going according to plan? Or were they the moments that challenged you, the moments when you struggled, when you doubted yourself, when you had to push through fear, frustration, or failure? Discomfort is a teacher that we often ignore because we don't like the way it feels. But the reality is that discomfort holds some of the most important lessons we will ever learn. One of the biggest mistakes we make is assuming that if something is hard, it must mean we are doing it wrong. We think that if we struggle in a relationship, it must mean we are with the wrong person. If we struggle in our careers, it must mean we are in the wrong job. If we struggle with our goals, it must mean we are not meant to succeed. But struggle is not a sign of failure, it is a sign of growth. When something is difficult, it means we are being stretched, challenged, and pushed to become more than we were before. In every area of life, discomfort is essential for growth. If you want to get physically stronger, you have to push your muscles beyond what they are used to. The soreness you feel after a workout is not a sign that you should stop, it is a sign that you are growing stronger. The same principle applies to mental and emotional growth. If you want to develop confidence, resilience, or self-awareness, you have to be willing to go through the discomfort of self-reflection, of failing and trying again, of being challenged in ways that force you to grow. Discomfort is also a sign that you are stepping outside of your comfort zone. And stepping outside of your comfort zone is the only way to expand it. If you never do things that make you uncomfortable, your comfort zone stays small. You stay in the same place, doing the same things, never pushing yourself beyond what you already know. But when you embrace discomfort, when you willingly put yourself in situations that challenge you, your comfort zone grows. The things that once scared you become normal. The things that once felt impossible become achievable. Avoiding discomfort keeps us trapped in patterns that do not serve us. It keeps us from having difficult conversations that could lead to deeper relationships. It keeps us from taking risks that could lead to great success. It keeps us from learning new skills because we don't want to go through the awkward, uncomfortable phase of being a beginner. But if we avoid discomfort, we avoid the very things that could change our lives for the better. One of the greatest lessons discomfort teaches us is resilience. When you allow yourself to struggle, to fail, and to keep going, you build mental toughness. You learn that you are stronger than you thought, that you can handle more than you imagined, that you can face setbacks and still move forward. The people who succeed in life are not the ones who never experience discomfort, they are the ones who learn to navigate it, who learn to use it as fuel rather than as a reason to quit. Discomfort also teaches us humility. It reminds us that we do not know everything, that we are not always in control, that we have room to grow. When we face challenges, when we make mistakes, when we feel out of our depth, we are forced to confront our limitations. But instead of seeing this as a bad thing, we should see it as an opportunity. The most successful people in the world are not the ones who pretend to have all the answers, they are the ones who embrace the discomfort of not knowing, who stay curious, who keep learning no matter how much they have already achieved. Another important lesson that discomfort teaches us is patience. We live in a world that values instant gratification. We want results immediately, success without struggle, rewards without effort. But real growth does not happen overnight. It happens slowly, through consistent effort, through setbacks and adjustments, through pushing through the moments when we want to give up. When we embrace discomfort, we learn to be patient with the process, to trust that the struggle we are going through today is shaping us into the person we need to become for tomorrow. Discomfort also teaches us the value of perspective. When we experience struggle, we learn to appreciate ease. When we face failure, we learn to appreciate success. When we go through hardship, we develop empathy for others who are struggling. The most compassionate, understanding people are often the ones who have faced the most discomfort in their own lives. They know what it means to struggle, to feel lost, to experience pain, and because of that, they are able to connect with others on a deeper level. Perhaps the greatest gift that discomfort gives us is confidence. When you face discomfort and come out on the other side, you build trust in yourself. You prove to yourself that you can handle hard things. You develop a sense of inner strength that cannot be taken away. Confidence is not something that people are born with, it is something that is built through experience, through facing challenges, through learning to trust yourself even when things are difficult. So the next time you feel discomfort, instead of seeing it as something to avoid, try seeing it as a teacher. Ask yourself, what is this moment teaching me? What lesson is hidden in this struggle? How can I use this challenge to grow? The more you embrace discomfort, the more you will learn, the more you will grow, and the stronger you will become. Life is not meant to be easy. It is meant to be a journey of growth, of discovery, of becoming the best version of yourself. And the only way to do that is to stop avoiding discomfort and start seeing it for what it really is: a powerful teacher, a necessary guide, and the key to becoming everything you are meant to be. Accountability is one of the most powerful forces for growth, yet it is often one of the most uncomfortable. It requires honesty, discipline, and the willingness to take responsibility for actions, choices, and outcomes. It demands that we look at ourselves clearly, without excuses, without shifting blame, and without running away from the truth. Accountability is not just about admitting when we are wrong, it is about owning our role in everything we do, both our successes and our failures. It is the opposite of softness because it does not allow for avoidance, complacency, or self-deception. It pushes us to be better, to expect more from ourselves, and to stand firmly in the reality we create. One of the biggest reasons people resist accountability is because it is uncomfortable. It is far easier to blame circumstances, other people, or bad luck than it is to acknowledge that we could have done something differently. When things go wrong, our first instinct is often to defend ourselves, to justify our actions, or to find an external reason for why things didn't work out the way we wanted. But true accountability means looking inward first. It means asking, what could I have done better? What choices led me here? How can I improve moving forward? This mindset is not about self-criticism or guilt, it is about growth. It is about refusing to stay stuck in the same patterns and instead choosing to learn from every experience. Softness, in the context of accountability, is avoidance. It is making excuses instead of taking action. It is letting fear of discomfort stop us from being honest with ourselves. It is choosing the easy path instead of the right one. When we avoid accountability, we stay in the same place. We repeat the same mistakes. We keep having the same problems. But when we embrace accountability, we take back our power. We recognize that we are in control of our own lives, and that every choice we make shapes our future. People who hold themselves accountable achieve more, not because they never fail, but because they learn from their failures instead of running from them. They don't waste time making excuses or blaming others. They take ownership of their work, their relationships, and their personal growth. They set high standards for themselves and refuse to settle for less. And because of that, they earn trust, respect, and success. Accountability is also essential in leadership. A true leader does not shift blame onto others when things go wrong. They do not hide behind excuses or pretend that mistakes did not happen. Instead, they take responsibility not just for their own actions, but for the people they lead. They set an example by owning their decisions, by being honest when they fall short, and by showing others what it means to learn and improve. A weak leader avoids accountability, fearing that admitting mistakes will make them look incompetent. But in reality, the strongest leaders are the ones who acknowledge their mistakes, correct them, and move forward with integrity. In relationships, accountability is the foundation of trust. When people refuse to take responsibility for their actions, relationships suffer. Whether it's in a friendship, a marriage, or a workplace, nothing erodes trust faster than avoiding accountability. When someone cannot admit when they are wrong, when they make excuses instead of making amends, when they refuse to acknowledge how their actions affect others, relationships break down. On the other hand, when people hold themselves accountable, relationships grow stronger. Apologizing when necessary, making things right, and committing to change are signs of strength, not weakness. In personal development, accountability is what separates those who achieve their goals from those who stay stuck. Everyone has dreams, ambitions, and things they want to accomplish. But without accountability, those dreams remain just that, dreams. It is easy to say, I want to be healthier, I want to be more successful, I want to be a better person. But unless you hold yourself accountable for doing the work, for making the necessary sacrifices, for staying disciplined even when it's hard, nothing changes. The people who reach their goals are the ones who hold themselves to a standard, who check in with themselves, who refuse to make excuses when things get difficult. Accountability also teaches resilience. When you take responsibility for everything in your life, you develop the mindset that no matter what happens, you are capable of finding a solution. Instead of feeling like a victim of your circumstances, you recognize that you always have the power to make a change. This is one of the most liberating mindsets a person can have, understanding that while you cannot always control what happens to you, you can always control how you respond. A lack of accountability, on the other hand, leads to stagnation. People who avoid accountability often find themselves stuck in cycles of frustration, wondering why nothing ever changes. They blame external factors, they wait for someone else to fix their problems, they convince themselves that life is just unfair. But the truth is, real change only happens when we stop waiting for something external to shift and instead take responsibility for making the shift ourselves. Being accountable does not mean being perfect. It does not mean never making mistakes. It means being honest about where you are, being willing to learn from every experience, and committing to doing better. It means recognizing that you are the author of your own story, and that every choice you make is shaping the future you will live. It means refusing to settle for excuses and instead choosing action. Accountability is the opposite of softness because it demands strength, honesty, and courage. It forces us to face ourselves, to own our failures as much as our successes, and to push ourselves to be better. It is not always easy, but it is always worth it. Because when you hold yourself accountable, you gain control over your own life. You stop being at the mercy of circumstances and start becoming the person who creates change, who overcomes challenges, who achieves what others only talk about. In the end, accountability is a choice. A choice to stop avoiding, to stop blaming, to stop waiting. A choice to step up, to take responsibility, and to do the work. A choice to be strong instead of soft, resilient instead of passive, and empowered instead of dependent. It is the foundation of success, the key to growth, and the mark of true strength. Thank you all for your support. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I appreciate every one of you. See you in the next video.